Hey, everybody, welcome back for another episode of Titans Latest on the Fan Arch Network. I am your host, Brent Smith, here to bring you all of the top news and information about the Tennessee Titans every week, every day of the week, Monday through Friday. And I'm going to try to get that to you in 15 minutes or less. So far, I've gone over a little bit each time, but it's going to be right around 15 minutes every day, trying to get that news and information to you guys. So thank you for coming by. Thank you for all of you who have been watching so far. Thank you for all of those who have been commenting and starting a conversation. That's what I've wanted this whole time is the whole time that I've been thinking about doing this show and came in and started doing the show is want to get a good conversation going with all you guys out there. And so anyway, we're going to go ahead and get up to date on some of the news that happened over the weekend and some before that as well. I do 4 news topics every day, and in the off season, it's not always going to be 4 topics that just happened yesterday or over the weekend because there's not that much happening. But I am always going to try to fill you guys in on what is happening recently. My nephew, who I know watches this show sometimes now, he actually gave me part of the idea for how I do this show now, because I've told you guys, I pay attention to this stuff all the time. I love this team. I love to be on top of the news with it. I listen to multiple podcasts. I watch multiple daily shows when I can. I follow on X all of the reporters, Jim Wyatt, Turin Davenport, all those guys, or Turan, I guess. And I stay up to date with all this stuff. So when he and I get together and we talk Titans, he's always like, how do you know all this stuff? He's like, I don't have time in my life to be up to date with all this information. And so this show is meant for people like him, and which I would assume is the majority of us, is everybody who loves this team but just doesn't have the time or the capacity to be able to stay up to date with every single thing going on with this team. So if you tune in here Monday through Friday, in about 15 minutes or so, I'm going to get you 4 important news topics so that you can get in, get information, and get out. And by the end of the week, you've got 20 new news pieces that you maybe only would have gotten 4 or 5 before that. So that's the point of the show. Hopefully you guys like that, and that's what I'm going to stick with unless something massive changes and you guys do a big outpouring and you tell me to change it, or the people at Fan Arch tell me to change it. Other than that, I want to keep this format for you guys. So to save time and to get into it, I'm going to get through these topics. I'm going to go ahead and get to our first one for today. So what I have here first today is Wandale interview on FanDuel Network. It says Wandale and K. So if you guys know NFL Network, Kay Adams used to be on Wake Up or Good Morning Football. Love Good Morning Football. I used to watch that all the time. I don't watch it as much anymore. I love Kyle Brandt on there, though. He's a big supporter of this team. Love that dude. But Kay Adams was on there a long time ago. She actually left a few years ago now, and she has her own show on FanDuel Network called Up and Adams. And she actually just had Wandale Robinson, our slot wide receiver or more that we brought in from the Giants this year. He played in Kentucky in his time in college, actually played with Will Levis a little bit there. And so he is now with the Titans. We brought him in, as I mentioned before. Brian Daboll is our new offensive coordinator. He came in from being the head coach of the Giants for the last few years. Brought in multiple pieces from his time there. Wandale Robinson was probably the biggest piece and most important piece that he brought in. And now this guy can slot right into our offense, can help teach the other players about the offense, and can play a big role for us there. Really important third down, moving the chains kind of guy. But he also has the ability to be more. So I'm going to stop talking about that right now. But I've mentioned to you guys before that Wes Wisley is a good follow on Facebook. He's a great follow to keep you up to date with the kind of stuff that I'm doing on here. He's doing in text form on Facebook. So go follow him, give him a follow, and I'll probably be getting a fair amount of news from him because he does a good job. But anyway, Wandale did his interview with Kay Adams on Up and Adams on FanDuel Network, and I'm just going to read you right here. Wes Wisley wrote this out. This is stuff from the information from the interview that I found interesting. I thought maybe you would find interesting too. So he was asked about Cam Ward, and Wandale said, "That's my guy right there." Robinson said with a smile, "He's just one of the guys. All business on the football field, but whenever we're off, he's going to be joking around with the guys like it's like all of us, and he's just great." Was then asked what it's like catching a ball from Cam, and this is what I found interesting. He said, "You better have your head around because the ball's coming out fast. He's putting it right where it needs to be. He said it took a little getting used to for the first couple of days, but after that, we've been clicking on all cylinders, which is wonderful news. Kay Adams then followed up asking him to explain what he meant by "you better have your head around," and he said, "I mean, I really hadn't had a quarterback that as soon as you put your foot in the ground, the ball is out, and as soon as you turn your head around, the ball is there." Robinson describing a quarterback who throws with anticipation there. They also joked about Robinson now holding the NFL record for the shortest wide receiver to ever tally 1,000+ receiving yards in a single season. And so that's just a funny little side note. He is a shorter stature kind of guy, which is why he may never be a wide receiver one in the league, probably won't be a wide receiver one in the league. That shorter stature usually leads you not to be the guy that's, the red zone target or anything like that. So one other thing that they added to that I just thought was a cool little personal piece for Wan'Dale Robinson. It says, one thing that stood out was when Adams asked why Robinson didn't try to get the number 17 jersey from Chim DK when he came in, when he joined the Titans, which I think Carnell Tate also was 17 and wanted that too, but why he didn't get the number 17. And he said that he decided to leave the number 17 in the past after leaving New York and wanted to choose a single-digit jersey number. Decided to go with number 4 to honor his friend Rondale Moore, who passed away earlier this year recently. So yeah, pretty cool thing for him to do that, to not want to fight, because it is hard to get jersey numbers from another player when you come in. It's hard to want them to give it up after they've already solidified themselves as that number. 2, Chim did a great job last year. He's been in a bunch of promos in this offseason wearing the number 17. But also, when somebody wants that number, I believe the rule is that they have to buy out all of the jerseys that have already been produced for sale before they can take that, because the companies shouldn't have to take a loss for that when that changes. And so, for multiple reasons, but he changed to the number 4, but I thought that was a really cool classy kind of thing that he wanted to honor his friend that way. I love that kind of stuff. So I thought that was a really cool thing for him. The second thing that I want to get on here, leaving that interview behind, is that another podcast, actually, Titans Global podcast, I think. I just saw this. This just be a quick one, a question for you guys that I thought was interesting, and coming off of that information about the interview with Wan'Dale, was that Titans Global podcast asked the question because Christian Watson just got a new deal with the Packers, 4 years for $10.5 million. If you pay attention to the Packers at all, you know that Christian Watson really is their number one wide receiver, but they've had so many over there over the last few years. They have a plethora of guys who can make plays. A lot of guys have been hurt, so it's been kind of a rotating room of really kind of who the top dog is over there, depending on who's available and all that kind of stuff. And so Christian Watson, I believe, is meant to be their wide receiver 1 over there, but he just hasn't had as much of an ability to do that because he's been injured and dealing with certain things. But when he does play, he is their wide receiver 1. And so Christian Watson just got a deal over there. 4 years, $10.5 million. Wan'Dale Robinson, we brought him in for 4 years for $70 million. Now, they're different wide receivers. Christian Watson is much more of that outside boundary kind of guy that's going to be tall and go up and get the ball. Wan'Dale Robinson, as I mentioned, is a smaller stature guy that's going to play more in the middle of the field. He's going to move the chains on third downs, but more. He can go deep as well. But they're different kinds of wide receivers, but they both play vital roles on the team that they're on. And so for a $30.5 million difference for the same amount of time and for the value they bring to the team, they pose the question, and I think it's an interesting question, which is the better deal? Did we get a steal on Wan'Dale Robinson, securing him for 4 years for that amount of money? Or is that about what it should be because he's not one of the boundary wide receiver 1 kind of guys? So chime in. Let me know what you think about that. I'd love to see your thoughts on that. Next up in the news is something that's actually coming out of the Tennessee Titans themselves. You can see on here I've got it listed as broadcast. A lot of things have changed over the last 2 seasons, really, for the Tennessee Titans. And I'm getting this information from a report that came out from the Titans themselves, but also, I told you I listen to a lot of stuff. I listen to the OTP sometimes as well, which is the official Titans podcast, if you don't know. It's the one put out by the organization themselves, by their broadcasting crew. Taylor Zarzor is the guy that's hosting it now. Before, it was Amy Adams and Mike Keith, and Coach Mack was on there with them sometimes. And that's those three kind of that I just mentioned that were hosting it before Taylor took over have kind of been the crew that we've been listening to and watching. If you watch the game day broadcast, or if you watch the OTP or listen to the OTP, or a lot of different organizational production stuff that they've done to put news out there from within for quite a few years now. And so there's been big changes there that I wanted to get you guys up to date on here, because if you do watch that, I don't want you to be surprised, but also just letting you know that there's big changes coming. We know that there's been changes. I mentioned earlier last week, new uniforms, new stadium coming, new head coach, new defensive scheme, new offensive coordinator, new offensive scheme, new players, all that kind of stuff. We've got a lot of changes that I think are going to lead to some really good things here. But on top of that, the broadcast crew is changing. So from the Tennessee Titans and OTP, they have a new game day broadcasting team. And so just to update you, Mike Keith, who's been legendary, the voice of the Titans since they came to Tennessee and became the Titans, he left last year because he's a big fan and I believe alumni of UT, University of Tennessee, and the Volunteers over there. He left to go and do all of the same stuff that he was doing here over there for UT. So he left last year, and then unfortunately, sadly, about a month or so ago, Coach Mack passed away. And so we lost him. He's not available to do anything and be a part of this team anymore. So hate to hear that. Love to listen to him. He was a really entertaining guy if you never listened to him, but really liked him a lot, and sad to see him go. And shortly after him passing, Amy Adams ended up leaving the team as well. I don't know why. I know she said she's moving on. It won't be the last time that we see her, but my guess is that so many changes are happening that the organization maybe just decided to do a clean slate, fresh start with everybody and everything. I'm sure that they didn't force her out. I'm sure that it was a good thing. She'd been there too long and done too many good things for the team. I don't see that being a bad thing, and I didn't catch anything about any bad blood there at all. I think it's just changing of the guard, and it was just time to move on from there. So anyway, we have a new era there, and the same as last season for the actual broadcast crew. Taylor Zarzor, who I mentioned, who we hired in last year to come in and do some of these things, and when I told you that Mike Keith left, Taylor Zarzor came in to be the play-by-play announcer, and then Coach Mack was more of like the color guy, let me see if I've got the right word here, the lead analyst, I guess I would say. And then Rhett Bryan has been the executive producer on that show, and he was still there. So the same from last season is Taylor Zarzor is play-by-play, and then Rhett Bryan is executive producer. Change that has happened since Coach Mack is gone, Ramon Foster will now be the lead analyst with Taylor and Rhett. Ramon Foster played offensive line for the Steelers. I believe it said he was guard for 11 seasons. And if you pay attention to Titans news, or not news, but Titans sports broadcasting on the radio, all those kinds of things, Ramon Foster for multiple years now has been with 104.5 The Zone in Nashville on the Ramon and Will show. I think Kayla's on there as well. And so now he's going to be stepping into that lead analyst role with Taylor and Rhett for the broadcast crew. On the sidelines, we're going to have Brad Hopkins. If you've been a fan of this team for a long time, you know that name because Brad Hopkins was on an offensive line for 13 years for this team. He's a legendary figure, one of those guys that's just been around and been a class act. He's been involved in all kinds of things going forward, still involved with the team, still lives in Tennessee. I've seen him on the Locked On Network with Tyler doing the squad show that they do. I think it's like once a week or once every couple of weeks or something. And he's been on there talking some too. But he's going to be doing the sideline reporting now. And then they're also, because it's the final season for Nissan Stadium before the new Nissan Stadium opens up next year and we move in there, they're bringing in some past players to also help do some reporting on the field. And so we're going to have Mark Mariani, Kevin Dyson, and Ben Jones as well joining that. So anyway, that's just pretty cool news to me. I'm excited to see that change. I'm excited to see what happens and a changing of the guard there. The last piece is that Will Bowling, who joined as sideline reporter last year, is now going to be the Titans radio game day host and will lead the pregame, half-game, and post-game coverage during the season. So like I said, I'm excited to see how that feels there. You know, new crews always lead to new feels. And like what I said, we've got all these new updates coming in. So it's going to be I think we're entering a new era, not just in the broadcasting team, but a new era for the Tennessee Titans. And I think we need it. I think it's going to be really fun to watch. I think that this season coming up is going to be, in a way, a gift to us fans who have been here through, except for a couple years of Mike Vrabel's tenure here. We've been through a lot of down years for a long time. And so this, I think, is going to be a blessing to us this season. And I think going forward, we're going to have some really exciting times. And I'm here for it. And hopefully you guys are too. But moving on to the last piece here is wanted to touch on this. 3 episodes last week I put out. Had a couple of different people kind of come after me a little bit on social media, which it's been a while since I've been active on social media. And I forgot how crazy it can be, and how much people can point out the smallest of things and come after you. And some things maybe weren't the smallest, but I don't think they were that big of a deal. They weren't the pieces that I was reporting on, but they were kind of just an off the top of my head trying to throw in another piece of information. I got a little bit of stuff incorrect. I knew the information. I promise you I did. Just when you're in the moment, when you're on a camera like this and you're doing this stuff, it's difficult to make sure that you get everything completely right, especially when you're trying to go off the cuff and throw in another piece of information there. So if I'm ever reporting on something, if you can see, look, I put together show notes every single day. I have all the proper information on there and make sure that I have it. But if I'm throwing something out off the top of my head, sometimes I'm going to maybe get that wrong. Okay, so I apologize for that. But I also thank you for correcting me, and I will always come on here and correct it, because I don't want to be the reason that people are going out and arguing with their friends about the Titans or anything else, and they're giving out wrong information. And so 3 things that I misspoke about last week. Keldrick Falk, when I mentioned I started the show talking about he had finally signed his contract, I said off the top of my head, because what school he went to wasn't a part of the information I was giving you. I was talking about his deal and the fact that it was good that he had finally signed his contract, because he was the last rookie that hadn't signed his contract yet. But I said off the top of my head, I knew it was from a school in the South. I said, I think it's from LSU. He's from Auburn. I apologize for that. Keldrick Falk is from Auburn. I correct that. Something else that I said, for some reason I was thinking that Kevin Byard had gone back to the Bears because he had been there, and I mentioned that I was excited for us to play a preseason game against the Bears because so many of our players, ex-players, are with the Bears now, and Kevin Byard was the most prominent one. I forgot completely that I had seen a report earlier this year that he had now gone to the Patriots, which, of course, another ex-Titans player is with Mike Vrabel at the Patriots now. So sorry about that. I didn't remember that information. Somebody threw it out there, and I was like, oh, yeah, that's right. First I thought I didn't even see that information. Then I remembered, oh, yeah, I did weeks and weeks ago when it happened. I remember seeing that just kind of in passing, so it didn't stick that hard for me. So another correction there. Last one is very simple. KJ Osborne, wide receiver that we brought in this year, I just got my purple teams mixed up. I said I think that he was with the Ravens. He was with the Vikings. They drafted him, and he did a few okay things there, but he's not been great for them. So it's not that big of a piece of information anyway. But like I said, I'm always going to correct those things. So the only thing I will ask is don't try to smear me online. If I misspeak, just kind of friendly correct me. I'll come out and get it. Obviously, I can't control how you're going to do it. I got thick enough skin I can handle it. But, let's be in this together instead of being against each other. That's all I got. So anyway, guys, that's all I have for today's news and information. I will be back tomorrow with 4 more topics for you. If I went over 15 minutes, I apologize. I had a couple things on my phone today that I had to read, so I didn't get to set a timer to try to keep track of my time a little bit better than I do. But once again, I'm sure I'm probably getting you out of here in less than 20 minutes. And so I'll try to stick to 15 from now on. But once again, please like and subscribe, share the show here on Facebook, here on YouTube. And then also follow me on X at Ohio Titan. Come on over, reach out to me, say, hey, have a conversation with me. Send me any questions or thoughts you guys have about anything. And outside of that, guys, I always will appreciate you tuning in for this show. Thank you very much for being here. Once again, I'm Brent K. Smith. This is Titans Latest for the Fan Arch Network, and I will see you tomorrow. See you guys.